At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Empower. Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risk. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
All right, so this week, you'll go back over the years. We're into our 11th year podcasting. So 9 guests, truly a lineup of legends from all walks of life. In sports, a retired CFL quarterback, a doctor, an IFBB pro, and a former UFC champ. In entertainment, lifestyle, an actor from one of the best Christmas movies of all time. You can't even argue that fact. 2017's Playboy Cyber Girl of the Year, and a consultant and the intersex former girlfriend of a U.S. Olympic champ. This week's musical guest, you'll hear from them in just a bit, arguably one of today's most notable metal guitarists, someone who went from the big screen to headlining concerts, and the frontman of one of Canada's biggest rock bands, period. And my name is Todd Hancock. Appreciate you being there along for the ride. Yet another Toddcast, all of which is made possible by outstanding sponsors like our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services, who just did an incredible job helping me get the best rate on my mortgage renewal. I basically told Dara, one of the owners and a good buddy of mine actually, how much I could afford every couple of weeks, and they found a way to keep it under that, which is great considering I went from a 2.8% interest rate to a 4.2, yet I was still able to continue keeping on. It's a big difference, right? Feel pretty fortunate about that. I guess what I'm saying is use my network to better yours. If you need a mortgage company that you can trust, and you just get signed up, just renew maybe like what I just did, or maybe you need a brand new one, Dara is your boy. He's a good buddy of mine. He's great at what he does. I trust him wholeheartedly, and it was a breeze to work with Dara. Simple, clean, a few emails, one phone call, done. Bob is your uncle, so Citywide Mortgage Services. Okay, so coming up shortly, and stop me if you've heard this before, Gob drummer Gabe Mantle shares a UFO spaceship story he has from being on tour, had to take a quick pee break. You're gonna love this story. That's powered by the Home Dwell Group, longtime friends of the podcast. They're great at what they do. Buying a house, you're selling your home, contact Kyle today. He'll make it as painless as possible through homedwell.ca. First, let's get to some musical guest highlights from over the years and start off with Zakk Wylde, an absolute monster on the guitar. Ozzy's guitarist, the brainchild of Black Label Society. Of course, he's now in Pantera, stepping in for Dimebag Darrell, Phil Rex, and drummer Charlie Benante in the band as well. Last time that Zakk was a guest, because he's been on a few times, we talked about his longevity in the industry and specifically with Black Label, and Ozzy releasing No More Tears back in 1991 and the amazing albums that came out around that same time.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I just looked at, I mean, even when we had the 20th anniversary record,
Yeah.
When we did the Sonic Brew thing, it was like, you know, I have my all my old Guitar Player magazines and stuff like that from the 70s and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, but I had Keith Richards on there, probably from 76 or something, 77, whatever. It said 16 years with the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards. And I was just laughing going, now they're on 60 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, but then, like, I mean, that was all uncharted territory. No rock bands lasted 16 years.
None, dude.
No,
like,
not even
go back to like the
10 years.
Beatles. You know, the Beatles, when they did, like, they were like, "Oh, you're 6 years in."
Yeah.
Like, did you ever dream? Same thing for Zeppelin,
totally.
all those guys, right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's what you said. Like, Zeppelin, like, 12 years is a long existence for a rock band. You know what I mean? So 16. So, I mean, here's Black Label. We're on what now? 22 years, something like that. You know, so yeah, it just flies by. I mean, the No More Tears thing is 30 years ago.
I know, right?
You know, so
dude,
I mean,
so many albums came like in 1991. That was when I graduated high school in 91. And like, you know, Ozzy, fucking Chili Peppers, Metallica, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, like huge. You look back now, and I mean, now they're considered almost classic albums.
Yeah, there was a ton of them that came out that year for sure.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
There was a ton of them when they came out that year for sure, no doubt. Just a monstrous year for music. I don't know that we've seen anything like it since or ever. Of course, Zach's in other projects as well. You need to get into the Pride and Glory stuff if you haven't already. He's from Jersey, carving his way into metal history, truly, with his signature Bullseye Les Paul. His guitar tone is unmistakable. Great to get into other things in Zach's life as well, though, like knowing that he's a comic book nerd. Is it Marvel? Is it DC? Which superpower would he want to have?
Yeah, I mean, Marvel and DC. I mean, I have all the big the Treasury comics. You know what I mean, the big ones. So I have some old ones as well. But no, I think, like I said, I think both DC and Marvel are both great. So I mean, you know, depends on what characters you're into. You know what I mean? So it's just they're all good, man.
What'd you think of did you see the Vision Wanda series on Netflix or Disney or whatever it was? No? Nope. Which superpower would you want to have?
That I could last longer than, 18 seconds in bed. So that maybe if I can get it up to, I don't know, 28, 30 seconds. That would be good. That would be a good superpower to have.
Double your time.
Yes. If I could break the Black Label Love Dojo barrier.
Yep. Well said. I have all the big Treasury comics. You know what I mean? The big ones. Yeah, dude, I got a few of them myself. From Ozzy's guitarist to Theory of a Dead Man singer Tyler Connolly, they're easily one of Canada's biggest rock bands for a reason. Big riffs, catchy hooks. The storytelling is outstanding. Cool to hear Tyler talking about the band's approach to songwriting.
It's usually lyrics and melody, where it used to be guitar riffs. I used to just write a ton of guitar riffs and then have no idea what to do next, and then just kind of mumble my way through something. But it changed after, I think, the first record, and then it just became more lyrical melody kind of stuff, and then the guitar stuff would be later.
Right. Like a song like Blow, lyrically, it's hilarious. Is this just a matter of writing down the funny shit that you talk about with buddies?
Yeah, I was on a train from New York to Boston. I was on some Amtrak or something, and it was a 3-hour ride, and I just wrote all the lyrics. I think it was just about all the stuff that, annoys me, maybe, and just silly stuff. I'm just really good at writing, kind of almost like it was almost like a rap, and it's fun to do rather than have to get so serious all the time.
Well, it almost feels like some of your stuff, Tyler, it almost feels like some of it is just train of thought, like you're literally just putting the pen to paper.
Yeah, well, kind of has to be, like I said, when I started, it was different. It was more about the riff, and I was so excited if it was a really cool guitar riff. But then you kind of realize that, unfortunately, there's very few people that care about that, so I focused more on stuff. People would always comment on a lyric, and they would rarely ever comment on some guitar riff on a record.
Man, I love that bridge, dude, and that song is so amazing.
Yeah.
That guitar solo blows my mind. Like, nope, don't hear that.
Which is sad because, I'm a guitar player, and I always thought, this is my chance to write some riffs and some guitar solos, and that just never panned out. It just turned into singing and writing lyrics, and I'm like, it's way cooler, to be honest, but there's always still the shredder in me that wishes that, one day.
I like that. When I started, it was different. It was more about the riff, and you can almost hear that when you go back to Theory's debut. Definitely a rock riff-driven album, and you got to love how big these guys got over the years. Here's a little rock band from Delta, BC, kicking ass on the world stage. So many big songs. Bad Girlfriend, RX or Medicate, Not Meant to Be, Tyler's voice is unmistakable. Listen to what he said about social media changing the musical landscape.
You know, it's interesting because it came out of nowhere, right? I mean,
yeah.
When we were touring, I had I got a cell phone. I think the only reason I got a cell phone, I think, was because we started touring. And I remember I got a cell phone bill for $3,000 one month. For real. And I was like, no, what happened? Because I had a Canadian plan and we were traveling all around the world. And I just, back then, they just really didn't figure out cell phones and the plans. And there was no worldwide plan for $59.99. It was just insane. But then, you know, all of a sudden it just became, now it's all data,
right,
and social media. So now you're on your phone 24 hours a day. But yeah, it really does affect everything because that's where everyone goes. Like, that's it. So you really have to connect with fans. And it's interesting because sometimes the labels, they'll say, well, you know, you need to go on social media more. You need to connect with fans more. I'm like, well, what did Elvis Presley do and Michael Jackson? They didn't show a photo of them eating a burger, you know, just having lunch.
Nailed it. It really does affect everything because that's where everyone goes. Like, that's it. The power of social media is undeniable. And we'll take you from Theory's singer to the singer of the Pretty Reckless, Taylor Momsen. Of course, you'll know her. She was Cindy Lou Who in The Grinch with Jim Carrey. And when she grew up and became a rock star, her band was going full on since the release of Light Me Up back in 2010. Make Me Want to Die, Heaven Knows, Death by Rock and Roll, all big songs for the Pretty Reckless. And you can thank the Beatles for them even being a band.
I grew up in a household where my father is a massive rock and roll fan. Like, if you walk into my parents' house, it essentially looks like a rock and roll museum of paraphernalia. So I grew up not being able to get away from rock and roll, even if I wanted to, but luckily I didn't. I fell in love with it. You know, the first band I ever heard was the Beatles, and that's really where I fell in love with music. Like, it's, you know, they're, you know, the first band I fell in love with, the first band I ever heard. They're the reason I started writing songs in the first place. So that's really where it all kind of stemmed for me. Was the Beatles, but then also, you know, it was my dad's vinyl collection. So it was the Beatles and The Who and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and AC/DC and Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. And, like, you know, the list just goes on and on. So it was, I grew up in a household that was very, very fortunate that I got a really, really, you know, the best musical education from, you know, the day I came home from the hospital and when I was born.
Yeah. I think you'll find that with a lot of musicians, where Taylor says they're the first band I fell in love with, the first band I heard. The Beatles will continue to inspire for years and years. My kids know that band as well as they know any new band. You know what I mean? It's great to talk to Taylor again. We'd done a couple interviews during my time at 99.3 The Fox here in Vancouver. I did their afternoon show, and a live music news performance interview-based show called the 6 o'clock Rock Report about, I don't know, it was like over a decade back, but I did it for 15 years. I did their afternoon show for 12, was at the station for 15. The Pretty Reckless is one of today's most dynamic rock bands. I mean, that's a given. They've toured with some of the greats, like Soundgarden and Guns N' Roses. So what's Taylor's career highlight then?
I think the biggest accomplishment is that we're still here and that we're still doing this. You know, we've been a band for over a decade now. We're on our 4th album. We've been through a lot of hell and back, and, like, the fact that we're, you know, it's not, you know, it's rock and roll's not easy, you know, and it's as AC/DC said, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And it, you know, it takes a full on life, you know, life commitment, of fully entrenching yourself in that and not wavering, in any way. Like, it's a full on, you know, mental commitment and lifestyle. And I think that it's impressive that we're still, you know, I think that's the biggest thing, is that, and that we continue to grow. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, I feel like as soon as you get kind of content or stagnant or, you know, pleased with yourself as an artist, and you're like, that was the best I can do, well, that's the death of an artist. So, like, we're always trying to push forward and better what we better what we've done previously. And I think that by sticking with that kind of mentality and having that be the goal of if you played a great show on Wednesday, the show on Thursday's got to be better. Like it's that kind of, if you wrote a great song and then the next song's got to be better. And that kind of mentality is really, I think, the driving force of this band and the reason that we're still around. So I think that's the biggest accomplishment, is just that we're still here doing it and we, love it.
Yeah.
Red Truck Beer. You never forget your first truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
If you've been around the Lower Mainland, or more specifically Langley, since the early 90s, you'll know who Gob is. They formed there in 1993. Crazy, right? Over 30 years ago. Gob exploded in the late 90s, got a Juno Award nomination for the best new group. They didn't win, but nice to get the nod. In 2000, their album, The World According to Gob, was huge. I was working at CFOX at the time, and that radio station played the hell out of those guys. Have known and followed the band pretty much since the get-go. So it was nice to catch up with their drummer, Gabe Mantle. And since you heard Gob songs on PlayStation's NHL, NFL games, we talked a lot about sports, the Canucks, the BC Lions. He talked about binge-watching Better Call Saul and Workaholics. His love of comic books was Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. He shared a story about seeing the Police in concert, their legendary run on the Vans Warped Tour. Gambling came up. So did ABBA. Star Wars, a near-death story. And stop me if you've heard this before, Gabe shared a pretty wild UFO alien spaceship story. It is one for the books.
Ah, my God, I can't believe you're asking me that. Okay, so when I was a kid, and I was touring with this band called Taste, which was kind of like, we were like, I don't even know what we were. It was kind of like an Alice in Chains almost sounding. It was in those days, and they're kind of like the Nirvana Alice in Chains days.
Okay.
And we were driving to a show. I think we were playing with Age of Electric. Actually, we were on a Age of Electric, and
love Todd Kearns.
Yeah,
what have you?
Love the brothers. Love both sets of brothers. And those guys are amazing musicians, and actually, role models for any, I think, rock musician from Canada from those days. Like those guys, kind of showed us in a way how to do it. Like,
totally.
They did the you transition from the cover band to a real band, and they did in a great way. That I was like, I could respect. And anyways, we were on tour with them, and we were driving to Calgary from here, and it was between Revelstoke and Golden at about 4 a.m. or something like that. And we pulled over to take a piss, and we're in the middle of nowhere. And my buddy's like, he went one way to pee, and I went the other way. And okay, so I'm peeing. He's like, Dave, come over here. You got it. I'm like, dude, I'm like this. I'm tired. I'm about to sleep. I'm like, dude, what? I was like kind of annoyed. He's like, you got to come over here. So I like turn around. I'm like, what the fuck? And up on the mountain, probably like maybe a couple kilometers away, there was a UFO up there. And it was like literally like it was moving like a UFO does, like in the movies, in like the 40s movies, kind of doing this. And, it looked about like that big to me. And we're like looking. And then you could see like what looked like shooting stars coming in and out of it. Like it would like shoot that way. And so I kind of like thought it must be like, they're sending out kind of like probes or something to kind of, in and out, or like they're sending out a thing to go take a sample or something. I don't know what the hell it was. And this was way before there was any like, there was nothing like this. There's no way that this was just like an American thing. This was definitely, I mean, I don't know, alien, but something. And so we started we started walking up the road towards it, because if we walk back, west on the highway number 1, you would get closer to it. So we start we're all excited, and we start running towards it, and then all of a sudden it looked like it came closer, and me and my buddy Trevor, you could like sense the alienness of it. Like it was like literally like a spider with brains in this thing. You could feel, and we just went from like awe to fear, like you've never felt like the most intense fear. And we turned and ran, and we burned it. But the whole night after that, I was like, I couldn't sleep. I was like looking out the goddamn window, and I mean, I don't know. I never saw an alien, but I saw something.
Wow. Dude, that's a great story.
And you know what? I remember calling my friends back in Nelson and back here in Vancouver and telling them, and they all believed me. But other of my friends are like, yeah. But I don't know. I'm telling you, this is not. Why would I make it up? I mean, you just sound like you're like losing your mind even to say a story like this.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by the HomedWell Group. Buying a house? Selling your home? Contact Kyle at homedwell.ca today. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, Powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit CanadianClub.com today.
What have you done? What have you done? Brace yourself today. Warning, libations. You think you were great, man, it takes you a shame. And you used to know of me. Are you born in your life? Do you ain't like you gotta lose the ground? Project after project, take it all to build them back again. Go change it. Million years behind. You'll never make it. Bring out an eviction. Lives disappear. Bring out an eviction. We'll sing the song of seagulls who's crying. Let's fly by the raging shore and scream after waves. The air is salt made for God. What better purpose? You'll never know this. What better purpose? You'll never know. Go change it. Million years behind. You'll never make it. Bring out an eviction. Lives disappear. Bring out an eviction. We'll sing the song of seagulls who's trying. Go change it. Million years behind. You'll never make it. Bring out an eviction. Lives disappear. Bring out an eviction. We'll sing the song of seagulls who Big up die. Big up die. Big up die.
Yeah, you kind of get the feeling that our next live show is going to be out freaking standing if they can pull it off, because that's what it's about. The live show. Will 20 million people be able to do that with The Big Empty? They're headlining our next live show. We're going to find out. That's a crushing song for them. Again, it's called The Big Empty, taking it up a notch at our next Blue Light Sessions. This is for all the metalheads in Vancouver, volume 36. If you're keeping track at home, by the way, that's 3 years at Blue Light. I mean, we do a show a month, although we have done a few months where we've done a couple shows. So it's damn close to 3 years of doing shows there. Next month, 20 million people and Seeing Grey. Both bands get a 45-minute set. I will interview the bands for the first 15, 20 minutes. You can ask questions as well, though, of course. We open up the doors at 7 o'clock, fire things up at around 8:15. 20 bones right now through eventbrite.ca. Save some money. Eventbrite, B-R-I-T-E, eventbrite.ca. $25 if you wait and gamble for tickets at the door. Now, you heard something new for the podcast from Chief State. It's called Out For Me. They headlined our Christmas show, or actually it was, I guess we were calling it my birthday show. Their show was the day after my birthday. You can see some videos from that night at our YouTube channel right now. Super, super fun night. Both bands were absolutely killer. Cloudsick opened up that one. And Chief State singer Fraser was actually at our last show with the Vitos and was talking with him and his wife Coco. And he was saying that they're currently writing new music. So with any luck, you'll hear that later on this year, hopefully at some point. Chief State, by the way, has a show at Bullies in New West this Friday, February 28th. Halfway Atlantic and The Interrogation open up that show. That's a great show. And Bullies is a very cool space to see one if you haven't been yet. Okay, so coming up in just a few minutes in Listen to This, global news anchor Sophie Louis talks about wanting to write for Rolling Stone magazine when she was just a little tyke. That is powered by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service, repairs, they are ICBC accredited, and they are 9-year sponsor. Absolute beauties. You want to talk about support for the indie community? Look no further. Tamra and her team, they are all about that. You can find them kicking around online from time to time as well on Facebook and on Twitter, or X. What do you want to call it? It's like Twitter, it's not X, at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get you back to more guest highlights in our Over the Years podcast and some sporting guests, all of whom are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best online dispensary for cannabis, psilocybin, psychedelics. Shop now through sacredmeds.co. Sacredmeds.co. Weed, mushrooms, edibles, vapes, DMT, oils, dabs, CBD, so much more. It's ridiculous. I usually grab some keef, maybe some lollipops, a little bit of hash. Believe me, sacredmeds.co will blow your mind. All right, straight up. Travis Lulay is a BC Lions legend. Former quarterback, led the team to the Grey Cup in 2011, named the game's MVP, won the CFL's most outstanding player that same year. Stud.
Yeah, this one's easy. The career highlights, hoisting the cup in 2011, man. That was, it becomes more fun in hindsight, too, just to recognize how special that was. A lot of people know the story. You may have been around for that or paying attention, right? But we started the year 0-5, and halfway through the year we moved back into BC Place, and we got to playing really good football, and we were just on fire the rest of the way. As we moved back into the building, it was just packed and rocking. Everybody wanted to see the new place. The Grey Cup was in Vancouver. We win our final game, which means we get to host the Western Final. If we win the West Final, we're playing in what amounts to a home Grey Cup, and then we got it done right just in front of a rocking house. Such a cool venue that did the CFL justice, at our pinnacle moment, and I got to be directly involved in all that. So that was obviously really special. He was named the MVP of the game. We hoisted the trophy overhead and the orange and white confetti, and yeah, it was a fairy tale ending to a tough start, and it's just, was a phenomenal life lesson for me, and perseverance and overcoming the negativity and adversity at the beginning. And so, it's something that, other teams have used as example for years. We've gotten countless stories from teams, right. High school coaches and teams in other places that we started slowly, and we referenced the 2011 BC Lions, and so to be a part of that kind of story, and to be able to tell that story, and
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kind of make an impact years later was pretty dang cool, man.
Yeah. Love that. It becomes more fun in hindsight, too, just to recognize how special that was. It's so true, hey? When you look back on things in your life and how they went down as it's happening, and then you go back like a year or 2, 5, 10 years later and realize just how incredible it was, that's great. Of course, you'll know that Travis spent his entire CFL career with the BC Lions from 2009 through 2018, a fan favorite. Through his leadership, resilience, it seemed like he never got hurt. His play in those clutch moments where you really needed him to be there. He's now retired, of course, from the game, although still connected, working in media and football operations. And so fun to get outside of football and learn about Travis's life. Like, what was his first concert?
Oh, man. My first concert, I think when I went as a kid, I went to Toby Keith.
Okay.
Nice. Country concert at the Oregon State Fair. Nice. I grew up small town, kind of a country kid, so we, country music was our thing, and I went to it was Toby Keith at the Oregon State Fair, and I hardly knew I must have been 10 or 11, back then. The first one I can really remember going to, though, I saw Hank Williams Jr. and the Charlie Daniels Band at the Rose Garden in Portland when I was like a 7th or 8th grader. So
right.
That's the one I remember.
So growing up, were you like the 4-H club? Did you get into that stuff, or?
See, I wasn't all in. Like, we didn't have farm animals. We had horses. We had a couple horses, but we weren't like a dairy farmers or anything, right? We didn't have all the extra chickens and those types of things. So no, we did have horses. We saddled up and rode horses around. My dad, cool. I think, was a wannabe cowboy, so we were kind of the tail end of that generation of my dad's there. So but no, Garth Brooks was my guy in the '90s, right? I've still never seen Garth live, and I feel
really?
To.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Right? Like, would you have known that from a small town country kid to board certified physician, fitness expert, and author Dr. Stacy Naito? She's been a guest a couple of times. She's known for her work in weight management and body transformation, a former competitive bodybuilder who loves empowering people to reach health and fitness goals.
You know, fitness and nutrition are still very, very important to me. I mean, I have a home gym, which of course I established because of lockdown. And that is the gym that I work out in. I train 5 to 7 days a week. I'm consistent about it. I practice what I preach, and I love being able to help people reach, their fitness goals. And then the other thing is, even though I don't compete anymore, I eat pretty damn clean, so like I eat fish every day. One of my friends, she's just someone who hangs out with me quite frequently, she always makes fun of me because she sees what I snack on and she'll just go, "That is the weirdest shit ever." I snack on radishes, cucumbers, like seasoned seaweed. She's like, "That's the weirdest shit. Like, where's the cookies and where's the chips and all that?" I'm like, "Man, I don't really want to do that." So, because I practice healthy lifestyle, I'm still very much committed to helping others, to reach their goals and to kind of, if they need an overhaul, then I'd love to help them. Yeah. So,
but if you're eating all that shit, if you're eating cookies and chips and all that stuff, it's pretty easy to fall off the plant, like slippery slope.
Oh yeah.
Those foods.
Well, yeah. I mean, the old adage that, you are what you eat, it's true. You are what you eat.
Yeah.
So
you start to notice it more and more as you get older too, right?
Oh yeah.
Like big.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even with me being very stringent about my regimen, things have happened, things have shifted. I mean, still wear the same size clothes and all that, but stuff has shifted. It just happens, it's like your waistline's a little bit wider, and then you start to lose your butt, and then bones start creaking, joints start creaking, and you go, "What the hell is this?"
I'll tell you, like for me, the last 10, 12 years, I've put on probably 30, 35 pounds, 40 pounds. Thank God I'm 6'2". And
yeah.
So you don't look at me and go like, "Holy crap, dude, if you knew me from high school, you'd be like, what the fuck, bro? What happened to you?" I just look like a bigger guy.
Okay. And that's okay. Yeah. That's all right. Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Even though I don't compete anymore, I eat pretty damn clean. No doubt, eh? You'd think that once you get into that mainframe and in there for so long, Stacy did competitive bodybuilding for years. And once you're there, it just kind of becomes a way of life, right? Kind of like me, 11 o'clock at night, every night, digging through the cupboards, finding chocolate, marshmallows, and gummies. Although that's something that I definitely have to break. Playing some video games and just relaxing at night. Anyway, Dr. Naito is a sought-after speaker, fitness, nutrition, mental wellness, and like always, we went deeper than what she's known for. Listen to the music that she grew up around.
Well, my mom, that's a good question. So if my mom was listening to the radio, it was elevator music.
Oh.
It was truly elevator music. It's just ridiculous. Like, set in 1970s orchestra, like orchestra, instrumental. Ugh, it was terrible. Yeah. But then she started getting record albums, and she had a small collection. So she liked, trying to remember who, she liked Linda Ronstadt. She liked Leo Sayer.
Yeah. Leo Sayer, wasn't that the cover where he's on the cover like this? Like legs spread, jumping out at you or whatever.
Yeah. And let's see, who else? she liked Lou Rawls. And it was just all of her music was when she got the albums, I didn't mind the artists whose albums she had. They weren't terrible. They were certainly better than the elevator music that we were listening to. But obviously I didn't get any of my music influences from what I was listening to at home. And I mean, there would be like some song would come on the radio and my mom would just get so pissed because I'd crank it up. And actually, there's a funny story about that. There was this one time I was in high school, right? And the song by The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go, came on. And I started doing my little, new wave dancing, and I was singing to the song, singing along with the song. And my mom said, "This is the stupidest song. Okay, if you're gonna stay, then stay. If you want to go, then go. I don't understand this song." I said, "Mom, it's the coolest song. Just kind of," and she kept talking over it. I was like, "Mom."
Yeah, no, parents aren't supposed to like your music anyway, right? It's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, and I was listening to, Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and The Doors and Stones, and I mean, just a lot of rock. Yeah. And it drove my mom crazy because, of course,
I
cranked that dial up.
Gotta go to 11.
I gotta go to 11.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Obviously, I didn't get any of my music influence from what I was listening to at home. Ain't that great? Sometimes the stuff your parents are playing doesn't necessarily jive with what you personally like. I wonder if that's like that for my kids, the same thing. Like, probably not. Like, we play Zeppelin, Kings of Leon, Pantera, Eagles. They better not think the same thing. And we'll take you from Dr. Naito to a former UFC champ, Raquel Pennington. Tough as nails, resilient, gritty, terrorized the women's bantamweight division for years. And she knew that she was going down that MMA path at a fairly young age.
When I was 19 and started it.
Really? Right away.
Honestly, yeah, I didn't think it would go this far. Growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. I was in school for medical stuff and whatnot. And then, it was always something. I love animals. So at one point it was like marine biology, veterinarian, but then it was just always in the medical field. And then my senior year, I've always been an athlete since I was 5. My senior year, I ended up breaking my back snowboarding. And so I couldn't take any of my athletic scholarships. Yeah, I took an academic scholarship to the university here in Colorado Springs, and I was going through rehab. Fighting was actually a joke. It was just something like, there was one point in life, like when I was 12, I grew up being a big tomboy. My friend at the time, her family came from a boxing background, and I wanted to box. And my parents were like, "No, you're too pretty and your teeth are too nice. It's not happening." So the only person I ever fought was my cousin, who's 5 months apart from me. And we were just like, they called us Chip and Dale, the little, chipmunks growing up. And so it was just, honestly, like, that was the one time I ever thought anything of fighting, and other than fighting my cousin. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird how life works. Life changed at that point. And, I remember being at the gym one night and told my mom, hey, I'm going to do that. Like, the first team I started with, they were training on those puzzle mats. They were like a 1/2 inch thick. They're doing judo and choking each other out. And I was just like, it's really intense. So I was kind of being a brat. And I think my mom just thought it was good to get me going again. So we talked to the coach. Next day went in. My very first training session was sparring, and fought my first fight 4 months later. And then here I am 13 years later. So
that's a crazy quote. My senior year, I ended up breaking my back snowboarding. Like, what? Crazy. Raquel is the face, or at least one of the faces, for UFC's women divisions. Former champ, a title fight against Amanda Nunes, a big win over Misha Tate. If you were to ask me to sum her up in a couple of words, I would say resilience, determination. It's pretty impressive how far she's come and what's still in front of her. And thankfully, this is behind her. Remember the case of mistaken identity with Raquel Pennington in that Depp versus Heard trial?
It's funny to me how people are so interested and invested. And like, just the fact that, like, if you're going to be so invested into something, why do you not have your facts together? And so I was just, it was annoying. I got to a point that I was like, all right, I'm honestly tired of hearing about this thing. I mean, just because I was getting drug into the whole thing, I did go and watch a little bit of it. And I think those girls made themselves look absolutely ridiculous. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it just, you know, through that whole process, it really amazed me how people can take the time out of their day and get online and go say the most disgusting things to another human being. For one, like, just watching the messages I was getting, I was just like, wow, like, the fact that you even take your time to talk to somebody else like this is just like, it just shows character in people. And it also shows how people just really feed off of each other and why the world is the way it is, you know? I mean, there's so much hatred and there's so much segregation because of people's behavior like this. And so it was it kind of like broke my heart just to the degree to see reality. But then at the same time, like, you know, I had nothing to do with that case. So I was getting attacked for no reason. And I was kind of just making fun of people with the stuff that they were saying. They would write me these nasty things and how karma's going to get me. And I was like, well, you know, for somebody that's not invested, like, I think karma's coming your direction because you're taking the time to write somebody who has no clue. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. We're huge fans of yours. And I'm just like, get out of here. Like, it just really separates people, you know? And I don't know. It was an adventure to say the least, though.
Toddcast Podcast Sporting Guest Visits are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best online dispensary for cannabis, psilocybin, and psychedelics. Shop now at sacredmeds.co.
We were quick to go steady, but I was trouble when I came around. 18, I wasn't ready. You needed a man who could settle down. I started moving like a rolling stone. Yeah, thought about you on the way home, but I still couldn't stay. You cried and I cried. We went our own way. Long down the night. Call it a blessing in disguise. Call it a curse if you want to. I know I took you by surprise. To tell you the truth, I didn't know what to do. I thought that maybe I could find myself, but turns out I probably could've used help. But I still couldn't stay. When you cried, I cried. We went our own way. Started moving like a rolling stone. Thought about you on the way home, but I still couldn't stay. You cried and I cried. We went our own way. We went our own way, yeah. Tough to do.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast Podcast.
Global news anchor Sophie Louis is a familiar face to many of us in the Lower Mainland. You'll remember prior to that, she used to co-host Global News Morning and Global Weekend Mornings. She's that comfy sweater, the trusted source, the one you believe. So it was super cool to have Sophie in studio for a podcast talking about all sorts of things, like what's a bronze unicorn, her first concert story, how her dad looks like Kenny Rogers. We touched on Lance Armstrong's story, the sting of childhood name calling, and the people on her quote-unquote list. We dove into Canucks hockey, Star Wars versus Star Trek, what it would be like to have Justin Bieber level money at just 20 years old. And Sophie talked about her early childhood dream of being a writer for Rolling Stone magazine. Listen to this.
I started out in radio. I went to BCIT and took the radio program.
Oh, when was that?
In the mid-90s. I graduated in 95.
Oh, you were like the year before you graduated.
You started in 95?
Started in 95.
We almost crossed paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that because I wanted to be a music journalist. I thought I wanted to write for Rolling Stone.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
You want it all, but you don't know how much more failure you can face. And you know what you saw, but you're never gonna get it if you keep playing it safe. I never answer your call. Every time I do, you just ask for more. It's just out of reach. Come closer to me, and I'll show you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. You want it all, but you don't know if you got what it takes. And you know what you saw, but you're never gonna get it, never gonna get it, never gonna get it. It's just out of reach. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same as you. I don't feel the same. Why don't you just go and walk away? I think I need to spend some time alone. Why don't you just go and fuck yourself? I think it's time you go. If you want me, quit calling. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you. If you want me, quit calling. I don't feel the same as you. If you need me, quit falling. I don't feel the same as you.
So good. The band is Chase the Bear, and their song is called Quit Callin'. I would put them in the top 20 of all-time Vancouver rock bands. Super, super catchy stuff. Great singer, amazing players. They crush live. Like, if you get the chance to see them, make a night of it.com. Speaking of, you heard Matt Storm, and his song is called We Went Our Own Way. Another Vancouver artist that you should try to see live. Matt was part of our night that we did with Ivan Hartle maybe a year and a half, 2 years back now. Both of those guys have chops galore, impressive players. So let's get back to more guests in our Over the Years Toddcast, going back over 10 years of guests and playing you some highlights this week and some entertainment lifestyle guests, all of whom are powered by Thrive Management, Canada's preeminent event staffing agency. If your next event needs that step up, whether it's models, brand ambassadors, talk to Sasha and her team will dial you in. Operations, sales, TV and film, trade shows, you name it. They're in major cities across our fair country. Make your next event memorable through thrivemanagement.ca. Thrivemanagement.ca. Of course, you'll know actor Zach Ward from starring in one of the best Christmas movies of all time, A Christmas Movie. He plays the bully, Scut Farkas.
Christmas Story was like that. When I auditioned for Christmas Story, I was the sidekick, and then when I got on set, Bob Clark saw that I was a foot taller than Yano Anaya, and he said, "Oh, you get his lines, he gets yours."
Really? I mean,
yeah.
That is literally, dude, without a word of a lie, I have watched A Christmas Story like every single year since it was released.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the best all time. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. You played Scut Farkas, man. I mean, that's pretty cool. You must get talked. I mean, still,
pretty awesome.
People still must talk to you about it today. Like,
oh, they do. Just like with the same enthusiasm that you have, because it's part of their life every year. Dude, and then you took your kids to Taekwondo today, and they're gonna watch this as well.
Absolutely, they've seen it.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
8 and 5.
Really? They've both seen it?
No kidding, right? Zach goes, it's part of their life every year. Each and every year I watch A Christmas Story at least once, sometimes twice. Zach's been grinding away over the years. You've seen him in some great roles. He was in Titus, of course, Resident Alien. He was in Transformers. You've also seen him make his mark behind the scenes, directing, producing, and he's a funny guy. Listen to him talk about how Shakespeare was the Married with Children of its time.
You know, I'm watching these movies with my older brother, and we're watching Easy Rider and The Shining and Deer Hunter and Phantom of the Paradise and some weird-ass movies. Films like, you know, nowadays, if you're under the age of 15, they feed you pablum until you can legally allowed to see an R-rated film. But back then,
you ain't watching Deer Hunter today if you're under 15.
No. So it was a great education because I was accelerated into my appreciation of acting because it wasn't what my peers at school were into. It's what somebody who adored film appreciated. So it kind of forced my hand. And then I started getting, as I got older, I was at 8. By the time I was 8 years old, I had seen a lot of performances, and at the age of 8, I watched an actor do a scene in a Shakespearean play that I was very much excited about because they said naughty things. For those of you who aren't aware, Shakespeare was pretty much the Married with Children back in the day. Right. Said a lot of boob jokes and butt jokes in Shakespearean pentameter, but it was funny.
Oh, I like that. It was a great education because I was accelerated into my appreciation of acting. Well said. From a Hollywood actor to a model and social media personality, Talia Paris. You've seen her collaborate with top fashion brands, appearances in various international magazines. She's an influencer with a powerful voice in a scrutinized digital world.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some people, they say I'm a porn star and,
Right.
that whole thing. Because people always ask, like, are you going to do porn? Or are you in porn? Do you do porn? Or they just jump right to it and they say, you are a porn star. But honestly, I've never done porn, and I definitely do not consider, like, any type of, Playboy modeling porn. I mean, I think it's very artsy in a way,
Like,
and
imagine
I do
being
not ever plan.
like that, Talia. Like, imagine actually thinking that, and that's your belief, that you think that if a man or a woman takes off their clothes, it's porn.
People always come back and they say, oh, it is porn because they fornicate to your pictures. And I come back and I'm like, okay, but people
I inspire
literally
them.
fornicate to pictures of girls in bathing suits. People even
Sure.
fornicate to pictures of feet.
They say I'm a porn star and that whole thing. I can't even imagine what women go through online. The trolls are brutal for guys. People saying shit just to get a rise. Talia's carved out a space of one of the most sought after models. If you surf her social media, she uses her platform to promote body positivity and empower women. Got into it way more than the industry and modeling with her as well. Like, check out this near-death story that she shared about a boat and a jet ski.
I would say, actually just kind of recently, on the 4th of July, me and my cousin went to Ocean City, Maryland, which is super random, but my friend's in a band, and so we went to go watch them play in Baltimore, and they had like a day off, and so we went to Ocean City, Maryland, and we had like a couple of drinks, and we went, and we're like, what should we do? And we were like, okay, like, let's go jet skiing. So we go jet skiing, and it was supposed to be him on his own jet ski and then me and my cousin sharing one. And for some reason, they like overbooked and had too many people. And so it ended up being me, him, and my cousin all on one jet ski. And so, of course, I'm like, I'm getting in the middle. Like, I'm way too scared. And the way that it works is like they have like a really tiny like boat that you're supposed to follow. So the boat goes first, and it's kind of like a line, and there's maybe like us and then like 10 other jet skis. So you all just follow the boat in like a straight line. And so we're driving the jet ski, and we're kind of like looking, like we're looking at like the scenery. It's super beautiful, like the greenery. And all of a sudden we look in front of us, and the little boat that we were following was at a complete stop. Like, it was just completely stopped. And like the kid who was driving it was like waving his hands in the air, like trying to tell us to stop. But honestly, like it was just way too late. Like, the person driving the jet ski, he couldn't have done anything. Like, he either could have like turned it and we like would have like flipped, and like the jet ski would have like landed on top of us or something.
Holy shit.
But luckily, like, the boat was at kind of like an upwards position, so it was almost like a ramp. So we literally ran into the boat, and we jumped the boat, and we landed it on the jet ski.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
It was so scary. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, we jumped the boat, and we landed it, and I was like shaking. Like, I swear, I was like, oh my, like, we literally almost died.
Waving his hands in the air, trying to tell us to stop. Holy shit. You know it's going to happen. Waiting for the impact. Super, super scary stuff. And we'll go from a top tier model to transgender activist, consultant, and public speaker, Taylor Leanne Chandler. Taylor was a guest, I think it was our first or maybe second year of the podcast. She'd gained a fair amount of public attention for her openness and experiences and sharing them, and the fact that she was U.S. Olympic swimming champion Michael Phelps's ex-girlfriend.
To all the naysayers, Michael didn't know. Michael is completely straight as an arrow. There's no tendency there whatsoever. My best friend is gay. I think I have pretty good gaydar. Michael loves women. He's totally a breast man. And I was kind of the ideal because I'm 5'8". I'm extremely fit. Him and I mesh on that rigorous workout routine level. At the time I was with him, I was a size 6. And then I have ginormous 34 triple D breasts. I was everything to him in that respect. He was my 6'4" body heater, and I was his good luck charm for the Baltimore Ravens. And he made me a Ravens fan for life, which has, made my family go crazy because they're all from New England, and the Patriots are everything.
Yeah. Yeah, my best friend is gay, and I think I have a pretty good gaydar. Gaydar, by the way, gaydar is a thing. Taylor was born intersex. More on that in just a second. She rose to prominence through her candid discussions on identity, sexuality, the challenges faced by the transgender community.
Well, first of all, I wasn't born a man and a woman. That's someone's poor uterus. When we're born, people can say what they want, but gender is given to you. A doctor decides what gender you are. It's not like you pop out and you're just automatically christened. You know, a doctor looks at genitalia and classifies you male or female, boy or girl, however you want to look at it. At the time of my birth, I had a underdeveloped penis. There was ambiguous genitalia towards the top of it, which was some form of a vagina.
Talkcast Podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Thrive Management, an event staffing agency that provides staffing services across Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and all of BC. Find out more at thrivemanagement.ca.
Tight is Right. The band is Brass Camel, and an older song for them called Issues. You got issues, woman. They have a new album coming out soon, in fact. April 19th, they will be doing their album release party at a beauty place, too, the Wise Hall in East Vancouver. If you've never been, you need to go. Holy man, this room is outstanding. Put it this way, if the Wise was downtown Vancouver, it would be top 3 in the entire city. It's just that right amount of people, just that right vibe every time. Maybe what it is, it's stumbling distance to the Toddcast studio. That might be it as well. Bleeko's Nuclear Disco will open up the night, get the crowd ready for the madness that is Brass Camel. No doubt you will hear new music on that night, April 19. Perhaps I will see you there. And with that, another Toddcast is in the bag, episode 357, or roughly 350 more than I thought that we would get to. Again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for giving us a spin. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. See our videos as well on YouTube. Comment and rate the podcast. It helps out with everything. Search it out. What else? Toddcast Podcast. We are part of the Realm.fm network. Check them out. So many killer casts, fiction, non-fiction as well. Goes without saying, but big props to all of our amazing sponsors. They're key to why we keep making these podcasts for you. Find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca if you'd like to sponsor the podcast with your business or by yourself, whatever, and weirdo. But that's fine if you want to do that as well, as long as I'm okay with the message. You can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage. If you help us find a sponsor, as always, we will give you a commission. So please, let me know which other podcasts are doing that. Oh, that's right. Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard. Most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life. and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.